Well, I've been studying the politics of immigration for a number of years and wanting to know what factors lead some countries to have more liberal policies or less liberal policies across the Western liberal democracies. And I discovered a puzzle, really, that there's a consistent gap across a number of countries in terms of the public opinion toward immigration policy, and almost all publics in the liberal democracies would prefer less or a slowdown to immigration, yet the policies tend to be much more liberal than public opinion suggests. And this gap is a puzzle because you generally expect public policy to reflect the desires of the electorate. So I've been looking and trying to explain that, and my approach is one of political economy, which says that people respond to immigration in terms of whether it benefits them to their way of thinking or imposes costs on them. So I looked at the allocation of benefits and costs of immigration policy across particular segments of the electorate and interest groups. And my argument is that the benefits of immigration tend to be highly concentrated on a relatively distinct segment of the population, whereas the costs tend to be dispersed broadly across the country as a whole and are sometimes deferred until much later down the road so that the immediate costs aren't evident to people. This means that those persons who benefit from the concentrated benefits of immigration have greater incentives, and it's more salient to them, so they're more likely to organize and pursue policies that provide them benefits, whereas the losers, if we can call them that, of immigration are more widely dispersed. The losses are not as concentrated, and they have fewer incentives, therefore, to organize. This leads to the organized public pushing immigration policy and explains, in my view, the gap. Now, you ask, how does my theory apply to Arizona? And my first reaction is it doesn't really, or it seems inconsistent, but I think if you look at it more closely, there is a connection. Arizona is a state in which the costs of immigration have become highly concentrated. It's a border state. It's a state that's the main entry point for illegal immigration. It's a state in a deep fiscal crisis. It's a state with few elected Hispanic politicians in the legislature and so forth. They never had a Hispanic governor, for example. And the media and grassroots organizations have pushed the perception that the costs of immigration are highly concentrated in Arizona, and this has allowed the losers, if you can, again, if you want to use that term, it's allowed the losers to organize in a way to combat the more traditional pro-immigration forces. Nevertheless, I would argue that over the long run, Arizona will lose to the pro-immigration forces, that the courts, the intervention of the federal government under the Obama regime, and just generally the power of forces behind immigration, legal or illegal, will win out.